Good day, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to attempt to do a Twitter space live on YouTube. So the next step is get my space started. So bear with me. We just did this the first time last week, so we're still learning here. Okay. pTGC and UFO Saturday update. Space is started, and we're live on YouTube. 4 viewers. Thank you for being here. I'm going to be sharing my screen. And I've got to coordinate between this mic and the mic on my phone. So I'll be seated a little bit. Let's see if TGZen is in here, or anybody for that matter. Mic is off. Let's turn that mic on. Mic is on. Is anybody in the space? I think you need to close. We think we need to close the streaming on Twitter to open a spaces. That would make sense. Yep. Let's see if I can do that. Oh boy. It's getting exciting. Because I know I need to find that. There we go. Let's close this. Edit, post, delete. Yeah, it's a good call. I think that's probably correct. Let's see if this works. I'm just going to delete it. Your post, that deleted the post. I'm not sure that. Can somebody tell me if I'm still live on Twitter? Eight people in here now. Yeah, we're not in the space just yet. I might need to go in my StreamYard. There's somebody. Hey, I think it worked. Zen? Let me just double check my StreamYard and see if maybe I can. 11 people viewing. So yeah, if you're just getting in, what we're doing is we're trying to coordinate a Twitter space with a YouTube live. We've got TGZen in the space, and we've been promoting this, excuse me, a little bit this week on my Twitter and elsewhere, TGZen's Twitter, to garner some people to have a chat about pTGC and UFO. And right now, we've never done it this way before. It was an idea that we had, so we're trying to make it work. There's another person. Can anybody hear me? Let me make sure my volume is up. We got plenty of volume. Okay. 13 people in here now. Can one of you guys go ahead and chat? Say something. Zibar. James, good to have you in here. And you can hear me loud and clear. How about, can you hear me on Twitter? Hey, Crab Hacks. Okay, I think I need to go and I wonder if I can modify my. Okay, you can hear me on the stream. I mean, on the space. Excellent. Can you guys hear me in the space? Zen and Hans. Maybe I need to give you guys add as a speaker. Ooh. Okay, great. I just added you as a speaker.
Hey, what's up, Banana?
I think we got it. Okay. Let's do a quick. Make sure this is all working. We're getting all fancy now. Hey, this is Zen's idea, and I think it's a good one. We're on 2 different platforms. And one of the benefits is, like, you guys can talk, anybody can talk in the Twitter space, but then we can show slides and screens and stuff on YouTube. So yeah, man.
And they can chat more freely on the side panel chat in YouTube too, which is nice because not everyone wants to come up.
Yes. So if you guys got comments, stuff you want to chat about, pop it into that. You can either say it on the space or put it into the YouTube chat and we'll talk about it. All right. We got 18 people in YouTube. Is there a way to tell how many people are on Twitter? I found out afterwards last week. We had I had a hard time believing it, but because we had 20 people in that I could see 20 different icons. But then Twitter was telling me we had something like 400 viewers. And I don't know if that means like they actually saw the post on Twitter or were actually live at one time on the space. But
that means they tuned in. So it doesn't need to be live. They could have just came in 2 days afterwards and listened to a few minutes of it. It doesn't even have to be the whole space.
Yep. Agreed. Okay, I'm just going to do the same thing we did last week. Quick introduction. This is a pTGC UFO space and stream. And we're here to discuss these 2 different projects. Anybody can pipe in. We got one of the founders on the line. There will be other experts. I just call them experts because I look up to these guys. And we're going to have a conversation about these 2 epic products. But let's discuss first what these products are. pTGC, it's a tax token. It's a 5% tax. 1% goes to the holders and stakers, 1% to stakers. 0.5% is burned to reduce the supply. 0.5% is added to LP, and 2% goes to a DAO, which is a decentralized autonomous organization, to be used for LP ads or anything that the DAO decides that they want to do with it. And the DAO is there anybody that is a staker. UFO came out after pTGC. It's a 6% tax token, 1% going to holders, 1% to buy and burn, 1% to buy and burn pTGC, and 3% goes to LP providers. And you can LP your RH tickers, both hexes, PDI, Inc., Pulse, and Pulse X. So simple rules for the space is just be kind, keep it family friendly. We're probably going to go for more than an hour like we did last week. There is a website if you want to pull that up. I mean, I have a Chrome window open with a lot of these with several tabs on it. One of those is pulsetgc.com, which is the site for both pTGC and UFO. There's a Telegram, and that's, I don't know how, I'll put that in the description of the video. And then you'll want to follow TGZen to get all the updates on UFO and pTGC. The Grays 369 on Twitter. Follow the Grays 369, and I'd be flattered if you would follow me as well, Prairie Banana. And with that, that's it for the introduction. Now I'm going to check the chat. Chris Crypto says, "What's up, guys?" James is in here. Several other people. 18 live viewers, and it looks like we have about 6 in the space. This is a lot different, guys. The space is a lot different than a YouTube stream, and I need to just kind of stay in the background. That's my goal. and that's kind of I'm looking for a place to rest my phone, because you guys need to be able to chat. So does anybody have any comments or questions?
Not too many right now. I'm definitely ready for this week. I'm interested to see what the 8th has for us for just the pulse chain community in general. I believe that's when the SEC needs to either dismiss RH's case or let them know that they will be going to court with them in October.
Right. Now
I think we all have an interesting week ahead of us.
Because of that, or is there more?
Because of that.
Yeah. Now that's the 7th, isn't that correct?
Oh, maybe it's the 7th. I thought it was the 8th, but I could be wrong.
I think it's Monday. Well, no, the 7th would be Sunday, because today's the 6th. So correct. It must be the 8th. But yeah, that's gonna be interesting. What a ride we're on.
Yeah, and someone was just recently telling me, like, I haven't looked into it too much. I just get the information from other people. But they're saying more of this is about just what he was doing with the sacrifice funds and not so much Pulse Chain and PulseX itself. So supposedly what this is more about is just the sacrifice.
Oh, okay.
And that he didn't use those funds for personal use, which I think he could have anyways, because it was a sacrifice and the wordage was pretty blatant on the website. But I also don't think RH is dumb enough to use any of those funds for anything personally, especially when he has so much money personally. It just wouldn't make sense. So I just don't think there's much for them to stand on as far as a case or really even going after the case. So, there could be a dismissal there. I always thought it was more about Pulse Chain and PulseX and Hex in general, but this person told me that that's not the case, and it's more just about the sacrifices.
Sure. Yeah, and what I find interesting is that Ethereum was approved for an ETF, and Pulse Chain is a fork of Ethereum. So, I mean, so like you said, they're going after the sacrifice funds. If they were interested in interrupting Pulse Chain, well, Ethereum has already been approved for an ETF. So it would kind of nullify that.
Well, Ethereum didn't have a sacrifice. So if they were to go after anything, it can be that sacrifice. But if all those funds are just still sitting in those wallets, obviously we know he's like bought some PulseX with it, bought some ETH with it. I don't think personally he can get in trouble for any of those movements because it was legitimately a sacrifice of funds. It's pretty much a donation to do with whatever he pleases. But legally, who knows what they can spend up to tell him to do with those funds.
And like you stated, he hasn't. And why are we talking about Pulse Chain? Because pTGC and UFO ride on the Pulse network. So, but yeah, RH is too smart to do anything with those funds. He didn't buy a single Gucci bag with any of that sacrifice money, Pulse or Pulse X. I can guarantee that. No way.
Well, like you said, why it matters so much is we have millions of dollars in liquidity with RH tickers. And if RH tickers get out of the hole that they've dug themselves into and go up 10x, let's say, it doesn't have to happen in one day, but let's say in the next few months we go up 10x from here, or next 6 months, whatever it is. Well, then all of our liquidity ties go up 10x. That means pTGC gets dragged up 10x or more. UFO gets dragged up 10x or more. But more importantly, in my opinion, the liquidity pools are 10x the size, which means now the R bots can move 10x the money. Now the PulseX auto router are more likely to use our liquidity pools, because the bigger liquidity ties we have with these blue chips, the more value we have on the blockchain for our users. And not only users, our utility has more value backing it, and that makes it so our utility is stronger.
I don't know if you checked the volume, if you've been keeping an eye on the volume, but last night we had at one point $45,000 in volume on the UFO. And I'll share the screen. Hold on, I gotta clean something up here. So
I haven't looked at every transaction, but just judging on what I see coming through, I would say minimally $30,000 of that is arbitrage bots or the PulseX auto router. So if you think about it, 75%, maybe a little bit more of all the volume going into pTGC and UFO are the bots, because of the web that we've created. And if you think about, if we're already producing roughly $40,000, or let's say $30,000 of volume from our bots at the level we're at right now, with a simple 10x, that means we'll be producing $300,000 in volume from arbitrage bots and PulseX auto router.
Right.
At $300,000 of volume, 3% of that is $10,000, I believe.
1% would be $3,000 of 300,000.
Okay, yeah, so $9,000. It would be 3%. So 1%'s 3,000. 3% would be 9,000. So $9,000 a day is getting rewarded in the LP providers in PLS at $300,000.
Yep. What I've been seeing is the UFO volume is typically just about double that of the pTGC volume. And I think that's just because of maybe that has something to do with the PulseX router.
Yeah, I think it's either way. It's because there's obviously more liquidity with UFO than pTGC. That's one. And then two, I believe naturally the PulseX or the RH tickers have more volume than the teddy bear and PI tickers. So naturally the things with more volume are going to have more arbitrage opportunity. And then also, in case the things that are having bigger purchases run through them, the PulseX auto router is obviously sending parts of those buys and sells through our pools. So naturally, having the web with the RH tickers, I think, has proven to, as far as volume metrics, be a better play at the moment. That being said, I don't think doing the Atropa ecosystem with pTGC was a bad move at all, because we rode that so much up. So we got so much hard slaw from that. And then obviously we've ridden it back down in the last few months. But for us, that's okay, because it's not like we're getting pulled down with not getting anything from it. Like if we were a zero tax token, we wouldn't get anything from getting pulled down. But since we have the fee base, even when the market goes up or down, we're still earning. So yeah, it came down, we earned. Well, that just gives it another opportunity to go back up and we earn again. So as long as we end up in the same location, if that road is zigzaggy, you know, if it's not a straight line, that's okay for us, because the more zigzaggy the road to that end point, the more value we gain. Yeah.
This is these UFO and pTGC are volume tokens. Are like they shine when we have volatility on the network. That's what is best for them. Now, Crab Hex has a question: which is the best pool to add your LP to for UFO, just to promote volume? Been routed through it. I thought EHEX, DI, and Ink might be best. Let me try to answer this, TGZen. There is, in my opinion, no best pool, because your rewards for LPing UFO and RH ticker are you could be entirely in one pool, and you will get the rewards equivalent for if you were in any other pool, if that makes sense. It doesn't matter what pool you're in. To me, what matters is what token do I want to hold and then LP with UFO. That's a thought process I have gone through. Which ones do I want to LP with UFO to hold that token? But it doesn't make any difference which pool you LP in. Your rewards will be the same.
Yeah, I think his question was more on the lines like, what's going to help the protocol as far as volume goes.
Okay. Yep, I see that.
So what we've seen recently with the PulseX auto router is the PulseX auto router tends to like our PDI pool and our EHEX pool.
There you go.
And the only reason I think that is because I believe we're in at least the top 5 of all the EHEX pairs on all of PulseX, if not higher. I know the highest pair is PHEX to EHEX. I think we're pretty, and this is PulseX. I don't know about the other dexes, but I think the next biggest pair is EHEX to WPLS, and I think we're actually pretty neck and neck with that. So if you just look at that, and someone comes in, he wants to buy a big bag of EHEX, and we're technically 2 or 3 as far as biggest LP pools on all of PulseX, the biggest dex on Pulse Chain.
Where can we see that?
Well, I know that's what's kind of hard is like, so if you type in the contract address for EHEX and then switch to the network to Pulse Chain, it'll show you like the EHEX pair and then the PLS pair, or the PHEX pair and then the PLS pair, but it doesn't show us our pair, but I know what our pair's value is. It's like 130K.
Okay.
I don't know if you have that pulled up.
Sorry to interrupt you, but yeah. Dex Screener. Hey, you guys did this on Steven's stream the other day.
Pools.
Okay.
But Dex Screener works good too.
Let me get the contract address. Oh, we need, here, we'll do it this way. Dex Tools.
And I guess where I'm going at with it is, so the RH tickers, besides EHEX, have very, very large liquidity pools. They're like $20 million or something like that. So our $200,000, $300,000 liquidity pools are not large compared to Richard Hart's liquidity pools that he's providing. But he's not providing as much liquidity for PDI and for EHEX. So since our liquidity pools can actually match with what he's provided for those, the PulseX auto router actually pushes more funds through us because we're making a bigger dent in the overall liquidity of those tokens comparatively.
Okay. Are we on the right track here?
Oh, I'm on this Twitter Spaces. I'm not looking at the screen.
Oh, okay. I pulled up the UFO WPLS pair on Dex Tools.
Yeah, definitely not. You're going to want to pull up. So if you just type in UFO on Dex Tools and go to the hex pair, we have like roughly $130,000, I believe.
Oh, there you go. $120,000.
Okay, $120,000. And then if you just go to eHex in general on Pulse Chain Network, the biggest pair is going to be with pHex, which is, I believe, like $500,000 or something like that. If you just type in hex, it should just show a pool that says hex and hex from Ethereum. And you'll see that one's like $500,000.
Yep, 473.
473. And then if you pull out the token address of eHex and just copy and paste that into Dex Tools, I think it shows that the WPLS pairing with eHex is like $130,000 also, which shows you that anyone going from PLS to eHex, that liquidity pool is actually just as big as the pTGC, or not pTGC, UFO liquidity pool. So naturally, the auto router is going to have to, if someone's doing a big purchase, it's going to push funds through the hex pool and our pool, and then any other pools that are also of decent size like ours, because it needs to spread out that buy between multiple liquidity pools. Richard Hart talks about this a lot. Doing this manually when you're a whale is you have to spread out your buys between different dexes, different liquidity pools, so you don't buy up the price on yourself, and then the R bots will obviously take profits from you and then spread it out between multiple liquidity pools if you're not doing so yourself. So that's what's cool about the auto router is you don't really have to do it yourself. The auto router does it for you, and that in case is why the auto router is using the UFO and pTGC liquidity pools. And the bigger we make these liquidity pools, the more often the auto router will use us.
Oh yeah. Well, we're constantly building our LP. So, I was going to ask you, did you tweet about I want to say it was a 280 million Pulse Inc. LP burn that we did this week?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I missed it.
Or maybe I didn't. Maybe the main account did, possibly. But yeah, that was from the last 2 weeks. But we burnt it all this week. So in the last 2 weeks, I think this week the Dow had 100 million. Oh yeah, it wasn't 280, it was 180. We had 100 million PLS come out this week. We had 80 million come out last week. And what we did with both of those funds is we bought pTGC and bought Inc. with all those funds, paired them together in LP, and then sent it to the debt address, just making that liquidity pool larger for the web of pTGC.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So that's kind of like in my opinion, the big difference of UFO and pTGC is the DAO is having to bolster up the liquidity web for pTGC, which is good because protocol owned and burnt liquidity can never be taken from the system. But the growing rate is a lot slower than UFO. UFO's growing rate can go so much quicker because pTGC's liquidity is dependent on the protocol itself, but UFO's liquidity is dependent on the adoption of UFO and the community and the user base of UFO. If UFO's community starts to grow and people see value in it and start adding liquidity, that whole entire liquidity web can 2x overnight without any price appreciation. Obviously, with price appreciation and Pulse Chain Network going up in price too, can make that go up even faster and faster and faster. But so that's kind of the difference. Obviously, the UFOs can get pulled when users say like, oh, I want my liquidity back or whatever. So then it can drop back down again. But what I'm finding is people aren't really willing to take their liquidity out because they're earning, it's a farm. So they're actually earning PLS while providing liquidity. And people are finding that it makes more sense for you to have your RH tickers earning more value for you than just sitting in your wallet, especially if you think about it. Pulse Chain's been out a whole entire year now, and we're below SAC rate still. So technically, someone could have been farming with their RH tickers this whole entire time, unless they're a trader. Traders, if you're a good trader, keep trading. 99% of people aren't good traders, so I suggest you just park it in a place where you're going to use that money to make you more money. I don't consider myself a trader. I rather just park my investments in places to make myself more money, and then use that APY in the future as a way to take profits during a bull run or something like that, so I never have to cash out my initial RH bags. And I like to kind of think that back to, like, imagine if you're in Ethereum the first few years and you just provided LP and you cashed out the LP rewards you're getting with Ethereum, or a farm with Ethereum, instead of actually selling your Ethereum. The amount of money you would have made from Ethereum going up would have superseded anything you would have made in most likely trading it, or you would have just cashed out too early. So, like, for my goal on Pulse Chain, my goal is to accumulate my blue chips, UFO, pTGC, RH tickers, and some other altcoins on here, like Teddy Bear and stuff like that. And, shout out to other communities that are doing well too, to accumulate these and have those projects work for me. So how can I have those tokens work for me? So then when the bull run comes, I actually don't have to sell any of those tokens, because the APY I'm getting is enough profits that I need to help my family and better my life, while I keep all my initial investments, so that those investments can actually work for me all throughout the bear into the next bull run, and then all throughout the next bear into the next bull run, and compound.
Right. And then from what I understand, we shouldn't experience as much of a pullback during the next bear in pTGC and UFO, because we're going to be burning LP all along the way, continually raising that price floor.
Yeah, 100%. So, like, usually altcoins will fall hard when the underlined asset, like the PLS or the Ethereum, when those fall, those usually dip, let's say, 70%. But then the altcoins on top of them usually will dip like 95%, 90%, due to the fact that their leverage plays on the main ecosystem. And this kind of works because everything's tied together. So if Ethereum drops 70%, it automatically drops the altcoin 70%. But then if there's additional sales on the altcoin, that will drop you even more. And this works in the positive direction too. It's also a leverage play in the positive direction. But the nice thing about pTGC is, all of us know, is like, when you're in a bear market, it's not just straight down. Like, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up and down. So like pTGC and UFO, when the market does this for 3 years, it's going to just continue buying and burning itself and adding more LP the entire time. And there's just no project out there that actually does that manually. So I do agree with you. It's unknown, but I do agree. If you factor in the part of constantly adding more LP and doing buy and burns throughout the whole entire 3-year process of a bear market, where do you actually land? Because if the base token of the blockchain isn't doing that, and every other altcoin on the blockchain isn't doing that, and this one actually stands out to be a blue chip of altcoins on the blockchain, naturally a lot of people will bring their funds over here, not only because it's standing up against, like, it's not falling as much as the market. Obviously, it's not like a stable coin. It's not going to stay at a certain dollar amount. It will retrace, but it's not falling as much as the entire market. And you're earning APY the whole entire time with no inflation of the base token, all deflation. So you're just getting more of the supply while the supply is decreasing. So then when the next bull market comes around, you have so much more of something that's fully deflationary for the next run up. And I think there's going to be a lot of value there. I just don't think anyone knows it yet.
The next run up, we're already starting to talk about the next bear and the next bull. And can you imagine, if we manage to hold, and I intend to, because this is like owning real estate, through the next bear, and then the next bull is going to be, it could potentially be epic. I mean, I think this one is going to be great. I think the next one, it could be a 10x, man. I'm just throwing that number out. If this one's a great, the next bull could be a great times 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the machine just constantly keeps doing its thing. It doesn't matter when it is. It's going to take supply off the market, and it's going to put more supply into stronger hands. And that's what they're both just designed to do over time. And like we've talked about, there doesn't need to be a human interaction for it to do it. It uses the market's volatility to do this naturally, just due to the value we've put onto the market. And that value will continue to grow, making it so it happens faster and faster. But that kind of just goes back, is like most people that are building protocols and stuff like that, they don't think long term. They just think about like X's or, getting people in right then. But both these protocols were designed to last the length of Pulse Chain itself. So if Pulse Chain is a multiple cycle blockchain, if it's 3, 5, 10, 20 cycle blockchain, like who knows how long these EVM blockchains are going to be successful in going on. That's, I'd say, one of the bigger questions. But let's say it's for the rest of our existence. Well, pTGC and UFO will have to last that length of time because the liquidity's all there. And with pTGC, it's all burnt. With UFO, there's real value getting provided to liquidity providers for that system. And the utility isn't user-based. It's economically based on movement of the whole entire crypto industry. So naturally, it will be multiple cycle. And that's not saying I don't think this cycle will be great. I just think, like, I'm going to use Hex for an example. So when Hex ran up in the last bull market and then it retraced, the whole entire retracement, there was lack of buyers, but there was still constantly more inflation coming out and more inflation coming out. So there is more supply and less demand. That is literally the equation for price go down. But in this case, even in a bear market, there will always be less supply and more demand. Less supply and more demand, because there will constantly be buy and burns via the smart contract, and there will be less supply via the smart contract. And that's kind of where I go back to, is like, dude, I studied so many tokens and I looked at what I thought were flaws. And that maybe isn't necessarily a flaw for Hex, as long as Hex goes back up, because Hex is a crazy buy opportunity right now. So as long as Hex has a narrative to go back up to its all-time highs, I would look at this dip as a positive. It just gave tons of new people the opportunity to load up on Hex and get decent-sized positions. But that's only if it goes back up. I like to kind of, because Richard Hart, in my opinion, is like in a different spot than me. He's got a huge voice in the crypto industry. He can use that voice, and he is also a billionaire. So he's got a couple more levers that he can pull on. I do. I'm not a famous crypto influencer, and I also am not a billionaire. So what I had to do for the products that we created to withstand the length of time is I was basing a lot of the growth off of math and utility-based that isn't dependent on a human finding out about us, because that's a really hard metric in crypto. Like, how do I get people to find out about us? Richard Hart is obviously a billionaire, likes to be flashy. Well, I was like, well, if we use math and we look at basic tokenomics that pushes the price up, and then along with a utility that is not human based, and you look at like any business, what are they? I literally just saw Wendigo posted a video of her at a fast food restaurant, and they eliminated the person taking her order, and it's now a robot taking her order. And why did they do this? It's because you don't have to pay the robot. The robot has no emotions. The robot never calls out sick. You're taking away human emotion and human accountability out of the process, making yourself dependent on a machine. And that was like something I thought was really important with pTGC and UFO, is the fact that it doesn't need human interaction for the price to go up. It's dependent on bots trading the market, because we have our liquidity web in place, and then part of those transactions go back to the baseline token.
Right. Grab Hex. decided what he's going to do with his. He decided how he's going to LP. He's going to LP PDI and EHEX. So good job, Crab Hex. I've got some.
Well, I think, in my opinion, those are the best bets because, like, if you look at other farms out there, like, let's look at Richard Hart's farms. Does he have a farm for EHEX currently? I don't know. And then does he have a farm for PDI currently? I for sure don't think that one. So looking at just tokens that you can't even farm on RH's platforms, but we have a place for you to farm on our platform. And that was kind of one of the cooler things I thought about for EHEX was I think everyone should be getting their EHEX if it's liquid off of Ethereum and getting it over to Pulse Chain. But when you bring it over here to Pulse Chain, there was never anything you can do with it to beat the inflation of Hex. Because there will always be more Hex being printed. So if you're not earning more value off of your Hex, then you're technically getting decreased by the inflation of Hex. That's kind of the game there is you need to stake it so you can be part of the inflation. But with creating this farm, you can now bring your EHEX over to Pulse Chain and put it to work for you and earn PLS. You're putting your EHEX to work now. And there wasn't there wasn't a place here before where you kept complete self-custody and you could earn APY off of your EHEX.
Right. 26 people in here. Thank you for joining us. If you're not aware, we are doing a Twitter space on YouTube. Let me remove this. So we're doing a space and I've got my phone up to my mic and we're doing both. This is TG Zen's idea. It's innovative, and you can bet your bottom dollar that that Twitter is probably already working on a platform where we can do this on Twitter and make this all seamless, if you will. But I wanted to show this for Crab Hex, and the rest of you will benefit from seeing this. I'm going to show a sheet that I built a while back. And this fits in very well with what we're talking about, LPing UFO with the RH tickers. And by the way, just so you know, you don't need to LP UFO. You can hold it, and many people do, me included, hold it in my wallet and earn reflections. We all have the option to LP it and earn additional PLS. You don't earn reflections when you're LPing, but take a look at this. So this is updated prices. I LP'd 1 million UFO on May 14th, and I have a million liquid in this wallet also on May 14th. Today, the yield from the liquid UFO is 7,237 UFO, a value in today's price of 11 cents. And the LP'd UFO, I don't know what I paired it with. It doesn't even matter, which is one of the beautiful things about pairing UFO with the RH tickers. I think I paired it with, I want to say PDI. 1 million UFO has earned 1,057,000 pulse at a value of 31 cents. And that's a 3x. So if you had 1 million UFO LP'd on May 14th, to date, you would have earned 31 cents. Now, what you can do with this calculator is you can put in your equivalent UFO, whatever that is. Let's say you have 500 million UFO, then your equivalent per day would have been 15 cents. I should put annually over here so you can see the difference. And then if you LP it equivalent, it would be 41 cents a day, which honestly won't even buy a coffee. Not even just a black, nothing in it coffee practically anywhere. But suspecting what's coming on the Pulse network, I think this number is going to go up. So Crab Hex and anybody that's interested in holding UFO and LPing it, here's a little calculator. I will put a link to this in the description of the video so you guys can download it and use it if you wish. And by the way, does anybody want to come up and speak? If you have any questions, you can pop them in the space. I mean, in the stream, or you can jump in and talk. Is Tricky in here? I have an idea for Tricky.
I don't see him there. But I will touch base a little bit on like that volume metric. So UFO and pTGC are obviously volume-based protocols. And currently the APY we're talking about is based on the blockchain we're built on having very lack of volume and volatility. But I think everyone who's in this space and everyone who's on Pulse Chain obviously has high hopes and high belief that Pulse Chain will be very successful.
Yeah.
So how the liquidity web works is if the Pulse Chain ecosystem and UFO or pTGC ecosystem, let's say the Pulse Chain ecosystem does a 50x and UFO and pTGC do 100x. Well, automatically our liquidity pools will be roughly up 100x as well, which will make it so our volume should be up 100x. And I know these numbers sound crazy. Obviously, Pulse Chain and UFO might not do 100x. I know that's a high X amount from this point, but I'm just using this as an example. Well, if the LP pools grow 100x and the volume 100x, that means the APY that we're receiving will 100x as well. So, and that's based on zero inflation. So it's not hurting the protocol. It's all the rewards getting paid out is always backed by more PLS going into these LP pools. So if we're earning 10% APY right now based on zero inflation and we 100x, we will now be receiving 1000% APY on a fully deflationary product. Which I don't, I bet that's been done in crypto before, just for short periods of time. Like it's never actually lasted due to just like when something has hype and it's paying out. But if that's based on no hype and just off of math and the blockchain itself becoming successful, as well as the tokens that are using this math, that can become a pretty consistent basis. And obviously that's a really good APY, and you're not going to find anything even close to that in any industry.
Yeah.
So even owning a business and putting that money into a business, you're probably not going to get that.
Yeah. And you can't see my screen, Zen, but what this little calculator will do also is you can put the whatever X's you want. Say Pulse Chain does 100x and UFO does 100x. Then it will 100x your yield for you, just to give you some idea of what it can be. Not like you couldn't do it in your head probably, but yeah. Well, so far, you and I have been the only speakers. Last week we had, who's the other founder? What's his name? He's your...
There's Archimedes and
yes.
Ty.
Yeah, Archimedes. He jumped in, and Mando. And I think Shaka jumped in also. And Chris.
Yeah, if anyone listening wants to just ask some questions or just chime into any topics about pTGC and UFO or topics about Pulse Chain in general, obviously we're connected to a lot of the tickers on Pulse Chain, so we're happy to talk about multiple things, not just pTGC and UFO, as long as it's somewhat relevant.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me scan my questions here. And AJ Rip City, thanks for your kind words. Appreciate that. and appreciate you being here. Yeah, hit the like, guys. It doesn't take long to click it. All right. I have 2 questions for you. And this is not just for you, for anybody. If Mando was in here or Shaka or anybody, I would ask the same questions. Let's see. Does our, and you got on, you know where I'm coming from. I'm not a blockchain crypto expert. I'd love to be, but if the question seems elementary, it is what it is. Is RH burning LP like we are in UFO and pTGC? I know he's burning Pulse X. That's a a buy and burn token. But Pulse isn't burning that I'm aware of. I think maybe just a little bit, but does he burn? Is that an option for him? Is this burnt LP? This burnt LP is not a new thing, right? Can you just talk about that? Just talk about that for a minute.
Well, it's definitely not a new thing. People have been burning LPs and locking LPs for a long time.
Yeah.
The new thing is it's the multiple LPs. So that's kind of the new idea that we're tapping into is no one's ever been creating multiple LP pools and making a web of burnt and locked liquidity. As far as RH goes, he doesn't burn LP. And if you look at like his wallets, he's holding the LP. I believe he doesn't want to burn LP for multiple reasons. I think he plays LP games as well. So he'll grow LP and shrink LP depending on if he's about to pump the token or, because he talks about how X's are based on liquidity. And if you double the liquidity, then you 4 times the X's. And I'd have to relook at his tweets, but that's how PulseX and Uniswap work. So if you have less LP and you have and you inject $1 million, that's going to create more X's on the base token than if you had more LP. So if he wanted to create X's for people, naturally he would bring that LP down a little bit before injecting funds. And then maybe once it gets to a certain level, re-put that LP back into the protocol or just let it sit with less LP because naturally when the price goes up, the liquidity will naturally grow with it. Which in my opinion makes us very, very different than most things out there because most people out there aren't willing or wanting to keep adding LP and adding LP and adding LP because that's going to naturally make it harder to do X's. But in crypto, there has never been a scenario where people were actually making money off of the more liquidity they were adding. They were always dependent on a new user coming in and attracting those new users with X's. So the downside to that is if you have less liquidity and you're attracting new users with X's, once the price goes up, there's still lack of liquidity there to back the people who are invested. So usually it's only a couple people who get to buy the top and then the price falls back down again because lack of liquidity. And then it ends back up to square one and a couple people won and the majority of people lost. And that's the sad truth about crypto and how it works. But with this weird scenario that we're creating here, we can actually comfortably just keep adding liquidity, which increases the web, so it brings more value into the community. But on the other side of it, we're making money off of that liquidity. And then also there's more liquidity for the users themselves. So if they want to exit, it becomes a scenario where there's enough for everyone. And even if they take profits off of their rewards, like let's say everyone just cashed out all their rewards for the rest of existence of pTGC. Well, there's always more PLS going into that liquidity pool backing those rewards that are getting paid out, so they can never actually empty the vaults. And as these keep growing, it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's, important because, and actually, I think if you really took a tally about how many people have made profits on pTGC, I believe it's a ton, because the amount of buy and burns that we've bought out of people and continued to move upwards, I believe is a lot more than people realize. I think a lot of people have actually, since the beginning, been able to take out initials or take out profits and still have their bags and still be in the positive. And I think that really shows why this protocol keeps operating and operating and operating, because it's actually been designed to where people can take some profits out. We obviously want them to leave tokens working for them and working for the ecosystem, but also it's important because everyone is here to make money, to better their family's life. So if they're not bettering their family's life and they're just sitting on internet money and their family's struggling, like I don't think that's the goal here. I think the goal here is to create tools to where they can leave a majority of their money here, and that money is actually making them more money while also not getting messed up with, inflation and taxations that are unfair and et cetera, et cetera. But on the other side of it, we need to make sure that there's actually value here for everyone to also change their lives. And if you don't have the liquidity to do that, then yeah, you just changed like one person's life and screwed over 100 people. And what does that do good for anyone? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they got 100x on paper, but then one person took all that, and then everyone else is back to square one or in the negative. It just doesn't make sense. Like, we wanted to find a way. If you had 100 people in this protocol and everyone believed in it, was a strong community member, provided LP with UFO, et cetera, like this protocol actually has a way to where all 100 people are winners instead of just a few people at the top. And really, that's never, like, that can happen with like utility-based protocols and stuff like that. But you always need someone to usually use that utility too. So you're always dependent on a human utilizing that utility. But what's cool about this is it's not actually dependent on a human utilizing the utility. It's dependent on bots utilizing the utility. And ultimately, if those bots ever stopped, it would just come down to creating new bots that utilized it, and then ultimately we'd probably just keep more of the profits in-house. But the RH bots are definitely hard to compete with, or whoever bots have been here on Pulse Chain are very skilled at what they do, because you can see with any purchase within literally seconds, these bots flood into the liquidity pools and fix the prices. So they're very, very fast.
I'm looking at the chart, Zen, and the UFO pulse chart, and right now, UFO is just a fuzz. It's right as far as price. It's right where it was within the first day. It's 2280 market cap. Let's see, market cap is 2.1, which is where it was within the first 16 hours, 20 hours.
Yeah, I think since UFO's launched, there hasn't been a positive sentiment on Pulse. So I would say, besides anyone who's like made some solid trades, which again is probably only 5% of the population, but I would say 90% of people on Pulse Chain are actually down on their bags at Pulse Chain. Yeah. So it's really hard for someone to actually start moving into altcoins when they're down on their Pulse Chain investment. So naturally, I think once Pulse Chain goes up, then people start feeling more comfortable to push that money into the altcoins. And just since UFOs came out, Pulse Chain actually hasn't gone up at all. It's only gone down.
Yep.
So, in my opinion, that's just opportunity. If you look at what the tool of what UFO is, and you look that there's only 1,500 holders, that means barely any people know about UFO yet for what the tech actually is. And then even the holders, if you think about, majority of them are probably providing LP and earning PLS. So there's not really an incentive, even if this goes up a few X's, for them to sell, because naturally their positions got exited out of. If Pulse didn't go up and UFO does, they're now just, let's say they're providing LP with the Pulse. Naturally, they actually kind of DCA'd out if they wanted to. If they didn't want to, then it makes sense for them just to stay in the LP pool and continue to earn more PLS off of the UFO share rates they've locked in at the beginning. So I guess my point of it is like, if you really think about like where we are as far as market cap and who is actually like willing to sell, I don't think it's much. And then on top of that, the machine's just buying and burning itself the whole entire time.
There was a little bit of a pump the first several days, like from May 4th to May 6th or so, but then it's just been down. Pulse has just been down since, and UFO has just been tracking right there along with it. So I'm not dismayed about the price at all. I got me some yesterday, man, and it's literally priced right now where it was on the day it launched. Oh, we were talking about this yesterday. We had a quick chat about this. And there are other people that agree. I agree, which is the reason I brought it up, that UFO is undervalued against pTGC. And here are my thoughts on that. So pTGC launched back in October. It's had a lot of exposure. A lot of people gotten in. Has a lot of holders, and a lot of people know about it. And it had a big run up with Pulse Chain, and it's down with the Pulse Chain right now. And then here comes UFO. Everybody's already got their pTGC. Everybody had gone to sleep in the pTGC chat, and UFO comes out. And a lot of the people were just gone. And I think that UFO just hasn't had the exposure, perhaps, that pTGC has. I think that UFO is undervalued against pTGC by about 100%. So if I was going to, let's say, how do you put it? I think UFO right now, if putting $1 into UFO right now would be like putting 50 cents into pTGC. That's how I feel about this right now, which is why Prairie Banana yesterday he's seeing these opportunities, and he got a hold of some fiat, and he had the choice of pTGC or UFO. This is not financial advice, but he's thinking put it on UFO, because I think that token out of the two is the most undervalued.
Yeah, I think they're both undervalued. Ultimately, Pulse Chain is holding them both down. If you look at even pTGC's chart against Pulse Chain, it's the blockchain that we've been built on has been holding us back. And I look at that as a positive opportunity, because getting held back isn't necessarily a bad thing, because that gives you more time to build your foundation. So that gives us more time to bolster up our bags with some fresh fiat. It doesn't do as good if you're just holding PLS, because obviously your PLS is down right now. If you bought it at higher levels, but if you had fresh fiat or stablecoin, I don't know if anyone still has stable coins since we're in a bull, but if you had stable coins or fresh fiat, pTGC and UFO are both very, very undervalued because ultimately Pulse Chain Network is holding it down. But that being said, we built here for a reason, is we believe over time Pulse Chain will do the opposite of hold us down, is it's going to bring us up. And when it does bring us up, we are a very, very small cup compared to what Pulse Chain is. So it will be very, very easy for us to do exits.
Yeah.
It's, it's like similar to a test tube that's long and skinny and tall compared to a test tube that's wide and fat. You could have the same amount of volume, the same amount of water, but if something's wide and fat and big, you're going to pour that in, and it's going to fill up an inch at the bottom of that test tube. But if you have something tall and skinny, you pour that same amount of volume in, it'll go up really, really high in that test tube. And just imagine that test tube's height is like X's. So the smaller the protocol, the smaller the token, we only have 1,000 holders compared to how many people hold Pulse Chain. It's just energy, alien.
Yeah.
So
there is no sound on YouTube. Wow, that is very odd. I haven't changed any settings.
Like the comment about like being on Pulse Chain and it hasn't done the true bull that Polygon, Solana, Moonbeam, Phantom, every other side chain, Layer 2, Optimum. Once Pulse Chain goes back to all-time highs, or once Pulse Chain goes to 10x, it's not a guarantee because like crypto, there's no guarantees or financial advice, but history likes to repeat itself. So Pulse Chain went up 5x, pTGC went up over 100x. So ultimately, I think history is gonna rhyme or repeat once pulse chain goes back to all-time highs. It's just written into the code, basically, and people ultimately just don't understand. Because I was actually having a conversation with somebody yesterday, because on my streams I've been talking about, hello guys, get like 5 different wallets, or find 5 to 10 different miners, have 5 or 10 different responsibilities, which that pTGC is utilized for. So like 3 of those wallets are compounding into a stake. Maybe 1 wallet, it is mining more pHex. So when I explain this, it's not like hex is not going to be dropping in your wallet, but you just claim your rewards to keep your principal, and you get passive. You can just make passive income of pHex, and then you can stake it down the line, which is ultimately helping yourself out. B is helping out the ecosystem, because that inflation is getting knocked down, and all the hexagons like more pHex, and it gives people opportunity and a different avenue to actually acquire more than a T-share during this time. I think it's like about, give or take, you literally only have to hold maybe $2,000 to $5,000 worth of pHex to actually get, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 more hex right now. And you could have been doing that for the last, I don't know, 4 months. And I actually did the math yesterday. Actually, $500 million pTGC is getting you about 1,000 to 3,000 pHex right now. And if you did that every single day, and it's actually almost every single day, you could have acquired 180,000 hex in the equivalence of the last 4 months.
Wow.
So it's just like, and it's just like $2 to $7 every single day. You know, it's not a lot, but it's just like facts are facts. Sorry.
That's how I look at mine. At like my UFO LP or my pTGC reflections or staking rewards, it ain't much. I mean, I'm not a huge player, but I'm a long-term thinker, and I know that those are going to stack up. And this is crypto. So not only are they going to stack up, but they're going to appreciate, probably, hopefully, greatly. So, yeah. Rivo says that he reached out to you the other day about building a liquidity calculator. And I'm just gonna say it out loud, Coach. I don't think that you're necessarily the guy to build a liquidity calculator. Am I wrong?
I would hire somebody to do that. That's why the way to do that liquidity calculator.
Okay.
With 40 plus liquidity pools. Zen, didn't we already try to do this with our devs?
I think you're talking about.
One of our community members has already created a liquidity calculator.
I've got it. It's right here. It's
you're
right
talking
here.
about like, how much liquidity, and then.
Yeah, he doesn't have all of them. Like,
yeah,
I saw with like UFO, he's missing one of the hexes, which I was going to hit him up about that. But for the most part, he's got like the big ones in most of them. But yeah, definitely, I think he needs to add one of the hexes, and that might be it. But yeah, it's pretty much there.
This is it. I've got it. Revo, private message me in either Twitter or Telegram. Yeah. It's already been done. That's something that I wanted. So you don't have to sit there and click and add it up with your calculator. But there it is. Like total liquidity for pTGC right now is 1.345 million. Yeah. Well, Mando didn't come in to spice things up, nor Shaka. It's a I mean, think about it. This is the 4th of July weekend. Crypto has been asleep all week. Historically, it's a very slow week. But we still have quite a few people in that are listening. 16 looks like to me.
Well, I think this was a calculated, planned move down by world governments in the United States trying to get their ETF going. Because China's ETH ETF is already out, so they're like basically telling Germany, all right, sell your Bitcoin right now. Oh, hey, let's send them out docs money out to people now. Oh, sorry. I'll be right back.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in? We've got a bunch of people. Amit is here. Chris. I think that is Goo God, Crab, Zuka, Hans. Yeah, there's so many people. Well, we've been going for a little over an hour.
Putin eyes crypto for new global financial systems. That's new.
Where'd you see that?
A Mario feed 5 hours ago.
Is that on Twitter?
Yeah.
Mario?
Yeah, I'll just retweet this out. I just retweeted it.
Okay.
Richard Hart's been pretty active on his Twitter the last couple days too, which is good to see.
Does anyone think he's not going to stream at some point?
I don't think he'll stream until his legal team tells him it's good to stream. I wouldn't even be surprised if every single tweet he's putting out, he has to even run through them to get their A-OK on it.
Whoa.
Like, why wouldn't you? You're paying tons and tons of money for these people to protect you and to bring you to a good spot in this case against you. And with a tweet, you're able to control what you're saying and obviously control what people are saying in the comments by just turning off the comments. But if RH went live, he could say something that could put him in a bad spot on the spot, and there's nothing they can do about it. Yep. So if he's just communicating via comments or Twitter posts, it just makes sense for him to run that by part of his legal team just to make sure that any of his wordage isn't putting him in a weird predicament with his case. And as soon as they approve it, he posts it out. You know what I mean? So that's what I think's going on. You know, I think it's good that he is commenting or doing posts and stuff like that because it shows us he's still here. He's just got things going on, and obviously his life, which is cause and reaction, putting things into our lives, just with our investments. But I'm happy to see when the market's going down, him to come out as more active instead of hiding. That's the RH we all know and love. Mm-hmm. He's someone to hide. He's someone that live streams on the spot. Something negative comes, he'll throw his live stream on. I just don't think he's capable of doing that right now due to his attorneys and his team saying, no, that's not what you're going to do right now. If you want, you could put out tweets, but we'll we'll review them, and make sure it's not putting us in a weird predicament.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Rip City asked to speak, and I made you a speaker, Rip. So go ahead.
On my end, it still just says listening.
On my end, it says speaker.
Okay.
Let me message him here. He said it's not working. Oh, yeah, he switched back to listener.
He might be dropping down and coming back in. He might have to request again. Sometimes it gets a little buggy.
Yeah, I think he did drop out, so I think he's coming back in. All right, I'm just watching for him to come back.
But yeah, naturally, I think that just seeing the activity out of RH in these downtrends of Bitcoin and Ethereum is just a really positive sentiment, because it just shows he's active and he's still watching it. It's still a huge part of his life, even though we have no idea of technically what he's doing on a daily basis. But it shows that he's very much involved. He is most likely not streaming, because legally it just does not make sense for him to stream, to be on live on the spot. He might accidentally slip and say something. To communicate via just, and even if you look at his account, he says it's not him. So on top of that, I think anything he's posting is getting reviewed legally before it goes out. At least by one person.
Okay, Rip City, you can talk now, but you are muted.
Check. One.
There you go, man. You're in.
What's up, guys? I figured it's my first time on Spaces. It wouldn't work.
Well, it's working now.
How you guys doing? No, I just really wanted to jump in and thank you guys for all that you're doing. Hayden, Coach, you guys are incredible, and we need more people like you, right? For what I believe is the greatest blockchain on the planet. So undervalued, so unknown. I sit in these other spaces, on these other blockchains. They're not talking about Pulse Chain. It seems like they're just ignoring us altogether when they have really no idea, because I sit and listen to these guys, and the value that the Pulse Chain community and the platforms and the protocols that are being built here are just above and beyond anything that they can even comprehend. And it's just amazing that we're sitting here, at the bottom of the Pulse Chain bear, right? And nobody knows. And I just think it's a great time, to be a part of something that's so huge and so amazing that nobody knows about, but we know it's coming, right? I have 100% belief in everything that Richard's ever taught us. It's so important that people like yourselves are, building, making yourselves known. I never intended to, become a face of anything in blockchain. And I just recently, I'm actually, building a relationship with Hayden in the background, and, trying to do my part in trying to, create some synergy and amazingness in, having some sort of, what am I trying to say? Bringing people over from other blockchains, and for the, gratefulness that I have for you guys coming on, and Hayden, you building such amazing, incredible, undervalued projects that nobody even knows about yet. But I think it's coming. Like, adoption is coming. People are going to come. It's going to be undeniable when Pulse Chain hits. And I just wanted to come on and say thank you for everything that you're doing on a daily basis, Coach. I know you're out there every single day. it's a great place to be, and it's a great thing to be watching, and it's a great it's a great to be a part of something that is going to impact the world at some point, in my belief. Yeah, I just wanted to come on and say thank you for everything you're doing, guys.
Yeah, that's a good point, Rip City. Like, if you really think about the percentage of users in crypto that are here to chase whatever's green and whatever's going up and has the candles are starting to go up. Like, I honestly believe that's probably 95% of the population in crypto.
Totally.
So it won't take much to get the recognition that we deserve over here personally. Like, it'll take very, very little. Just a few X's, some green candles, some positive sentiment about Pulse Chain, and in my opinion, there'll be a wave of people because that's all they need to get the confirmation of. Right now, they have the confirmation on other blockchains, so that's where they're sitting. And you can't blame them. Like, some people don't have all the time or all the passion with Richard Hart and, like, as far as RH Maxis, and not everyone has to have that passion with RH. But what a lot of people do have passion of is making money with their money. And I believe just some simple 5X on Pulse Chain with the right timing of the market can bring a flood of people over here.
Yeah, and what a great place to bring them to. I think these people that are getting in, especially the meme communities, they're coming in and they get on to, a stream with like Mando talking, right? And they just get blown away. It's like, what is this? How come I don't know about it? And it just creates that momentum that we need for people to come on from cross-chain and figure out that this is the greatest blockchain on the planet. And I think it just takes time. I think it takes all of us, trying to do our part. Slowly but surely we'll get there. And I think when people get on, like when I sit in that meme space and I'm listening to these guys, they're talking about Solana, they just don't know what they're talking about, And I think, once they sit in a room like this and they hear all the incredible, like, big brain theories, and it's just undeniable where we're at and where we're going. And I'm grateful to be here, grateful to be a part of something that you guys are involved in because you guys are building it, you guys are making it, and here I am trying to do my part, right?
Yeah, everyone for sure has their part,
Just added Mando as a speaker.
Nice. What's up, Mando?
What's up, Rip City? Wasn't trying to step on your parade, man. You sounded good.
No, this is my first time in space.
I just requested.
No, you're good, buddy. I would rather sit and listen to you talk than hear my own voice.
So, the last time that we were at this ratio with pTGC and Pulse Chain was February of this year. And in February of this year, we were at 3 zeros and a 1186. So now we're currently at the same exact ratio.
Really?
But Pulse Chain is now at 4 zeros and a 2. Very simple data to pull out of the chart on a ratio basis of pTGC against Pulse. So if you go back to February, you're talking about being at a 7-point the current market cap is what I'm directly speaking to. When we had a $7.38 million market cap, Pulse Chain was at a 3 zeros and a 1, And now we're currently at a $7.38 million market cap, and Pulse Chain's at a 4 zeros and 4. What does that mean? That means that this mechanic, that this protocol is killing it against Pulse Chain, even while Pulse Chain is going down. It's just killing it against Pulse Chain. We're moving up against Pulse Chain in this gradual trend. And like you guys were saying, you know, I'm just sitting here, I'm in Clearwater right now, enjoying a beautiful vacation. And, you know, the Bitcoin price doing what it did, it's actually very bullish, because you didn't want Bitcoin to run too fast. You know, post ETF announcement, you know, is all kind of front run information. And, you know, I talk to B-Roots all the time, and we've been around for a very long time. And having Bitcoin run too quick, not a good thing for the cycle, right? So we wanted a normal cycle. We want a normal cycle. And it's even more bullish for Pulse Chain, because it gives Pulse Chain a lot more runway to see Bitcoin pull back, as opposed to shortening the cycle, right? So, but on Pulse Chain, and, you know, you guys know, if you guys know who I am, you know, I love Pulse Chain. I love Richard. I believe in everything that we've built. I've been here since day one. But on Pulse Chain, outside of RH tickers, man, there ain't nothing like pTGC and UFO. And I don't just say that shit. I don't. You can't get me out of my pTGC and UFO positions. Because when this thing turns around, we're going to be almost instantly at a 40, 50, $60 million market cap. Instantly. And I want you guys to know that. So, you know, I was watching the stream with Prairie earlier, and you're talking about UFOs undervalued against this, undervalued against that. None of that shit matters. It's the way that these protocols are built. They're built to do X's against its native coin. And you can see that by just going back in history and looking at the ratios based on where the market caps were at certain times in the history of the protocol. And just looking today, I'm like, my God, man. Right now, we're at the same market cap as we were when Pulse Chain was worth more than double its value. So that means that the pTGC mechanics are just flawlessly doing what they're doing. And we are able to take these coins off the market every day and just put them in our little safe. And they're going to become very valuable soon. I mean, they're already valuable, but yes, 100x, 500x, 1000x, all that shit is on the table with these protocols. I can't tell you the time frame, but 100%.
Ahmet, did you have something you wanted to say?
Hey, good morning, guys. Thank you for everything you guys are doing. Mando, I got a question for you, man, if you don't mind. I've been following a bunch of different people over the last 8 months or so. I've been in crypto for years. I just didn't really understand the basics. So last year I spent, I don't know, I would say 6 months just kind of educating myself. Now I'm at a point where I can understand, you know, people's psychology, how market cycles work. So I'm super, super excited for where we all are right now in the market cycle. I agree with you. I'm so happy we got a little bit of a pullback on the Bitcoin price. I was hoping for it not to continue, rising up so high, so fast. My question to you, do you think that we're going to go a little lower and hit that 35 target? And also in relation to pTGC and Alien, I know Alien's market cap is much lower. Would you, if you were to add to your bags, would you add more to both, or would you pick the lower market cap? Those are my questions to you.
No, because market cap doesn't mean anything if you don't have something that you believe is, as legitimate as another protocol. So I don't determine what I buy by its market cap only. It has to be determined by, a number of different things. But in terms of 35,000 Bitcoin, that the only way you get down there is if we see some kind of a World War III event or another major,
Right.
Going down past the 300 week moving average.
Yeah.
It's just impossible in a bull run unless there's some black swan event, man, which I don't think is going to happen.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, we were supposed to, based on previous market cycles, we were supposed to see that price pre-halving. We never did, right? Instead, we saw the opposite.
Yeah, but the problem is that a lot of people don't recognize the reality that after we fell through the 300-week moving average in the bear, and then bounced up off of that started the bull run.
That started the bull run, right?
That was the beginning of the bull run back then. The bull run always starts way earlier than people feel like they're in a bull run.
100%. I think the bull run started February 2023.
Yeah, in my opinion, for me, it started when we confirmed the uptrend off of the bounce off the 300-week moving average.
Right. So you're okay. I see. So you're using that 300 as a
yes, because all previous cycles, once it tapped or fell through that, and as long as it confirmed an uptrend immediately after that, and then continued on, that was the beginning of the bull run.
Okay, yeah, that all makes sense. I'm just trying to get as much information as I can. Now I listen to B-Roots too. I'm subscribed. Really cool guy, man. Super smart too. The one thing I'm trying to figure out right now, and I'm going to do it on my own by gathering as much information as I can, is identifying a top of the market. And there's probably many different indicators that will allow you to identify the top. I'm just trying to find them myself.
Well, that kind of information is information that if you had it, would you go and give it to everybody?
And well, no, I guess, that would be, that's a hard question to answer when you're in front of a bunch of people.
I'll answer. No, you wouldn't.
No. Yeah.
And that's just because, look, at the end of the day, you have to have a plan. And that's why B always says, have a plan. Be a genius if you're right, be a genius if you're wrong. Have a plan. Don't let it be based off of emotions. Understand that you should be asking yourself a question right now. How much do I think my things can go? Like what can my portfolio do? And then when am I comfortable beginning to scale out, even though I know that it might go higher? If you just create a plan around something like that, it will benefit you tremendously. So you're not just going off of the whim of your emotions. But going back to your other point about other protocols, I don't own any other protocols. I don't own, and I've been very vocal about it. I just don't. I don't own anything that is a derivative or it helps us or anything like that. I just own UFO and pTGC. And respect to anyone who builds those things. I just don't. I don't do it.
Holy shit! That's incredible, man. I wouldn't have guessed. Somebody that's involved or invested in pTGC and UFO, I would have 100% thought that Pulse Chain and PulseX would be also, an investment as well.
Oh no. I'm heavily invested in those protocols.
I see.
From day one with Pulse, man. I'm definitely up in there with Pulse Chain. But I mean, you asked about other things that are kind of derivatives that are connected to pTGC.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as I got all of my other tokens as soon as all my others. I just sold it all. This is just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I don't buy anything else. The only thing I have right now are Atropa ecosystem tokens,
Mhm.
the course, pTGC, UFO, and all RH tickers. That's literally all I own on Pulse Chain.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing all that stuff and answering some of those questions. Makes a lot of sense. And I wish there were more people out in the crypto community like you guys. You're investors. I find most of you guys being pretty aggressive with your investment. Which protocols you choose. There's other people out there that I watch that are just all over the place, right? They don't know. They're investing in one thing one day, and then the other day they're promoting something else. So I just I'm really big on the Pulse Chain ecosystem, Hex as well, and Titanx is my little baby. But man, I just wanted to chime in and say hello and get some more information.
But right now is a very important tipping point for people. Right now, you should be looking at your portfolio because you don't want the hindsight is 2020 problem. You don't want to look back. What was I doing holding these bullshit tickers when I could have been loading up on Pulse Chain at fucking 4 zeros and a 4? Yeah. I could have been loading up pTGC, which is destroying it against Pulse Chain, at a $7 million market cap.
Yeah, we were just at a $30 million market cap like 2 months ago. That amazes me. When you was talking about the 7 million market cap compared to 3 zeros and a 1 just 3 months ago, and now we're 7 million market cap at a 4 zeros and a 4. When you say it like that and you really understand what that means, that's extremely bullish for pTGC.
pTGC is going to crack people's skulls with its performance.
Well, I can't wait, man, because when pTGC first came out, I missed it, I think, by 3 weeks. And then I saw the Prairie Banana talk about it, and he's part of the other community I'm with. And I'm like, okay, what is this thing? I got to check this out. And I staked right away. I picked up, I staked right away. And the rewards that we're getting is just incredible. The amount kickback that you get is crazy.
Well, I was talking to Zan the other day, because we talk a lot, and we just had this Pulse Latina thing happen, right?
Yeah, yep.
And people are bored. People are desperate for gains because they have addictions. They have greed. They have bills, and they don't have a job because they quit their job. They don't have a skill. They don't, everything is reliant on. So it's like everyone thinks they have to be putting their money into this or putting their money into that, and risking their precious Pulse Chain or PDI or pTGC, the things that have proven themselves, to be like the winners so far on the blockchain. You never sell your winners.
Mm-hmm.
You never get rid of your winners at the bottom. You don't fuck around with your winning bags to go play and find pennies jumping in front of a freight train.
100%, man. 100%.
And here's the thing. This is why I put out a tweet that said, look, guys, when you do that with a large bag and it gets hacked, it hurts the whole community.
Yeah.
Because now they got to take all that. We work very hard to get our liquidity pools. Our liquidity pools are going to be massive on Pulse Chain, our ecosystem, and the pTGC UFO ecosystem. We don't want people that don't deserve it being able to reach in there and pull out our money.
100%. Yeah.
So when you go out and you do these things, this is what you do. If you have to trade, if you have to ape, decide what percentage of your bag you want to ape with, that you don't give a shit if you lose it. Play with that, leave everything else alone. I guarantee you it'll be way less than you think. So
makes sense. Yeah.
Look, I'm telling you guys, right now, pTGC, UFO, Pulse Chain, look at SEC, and recently, like if you look at everything that's been going on Solana and Base with all these celebrity tokens and rug pull out, Hulk Hogan rug, 50 Cent rug, all these rappers rug. I mean, and to think that these influencers out here, altcoin dailies of the world, these bigger, they're calling Richard Hart, that they're still not giving Richard Hart it's a joke at this point. Richard's one of the best guys in all of crypto. And he's doing everything right. And he's engaging with us every day. He's telling us his thoughts. He's giving us those gold nuggets. If you've been around and you can translate what he's saying, you know what he's doing, and you're just going to win. In my, this is all my thoughts. But been with Richard a long time. He's going to win. That's what he does. He wins. Don't throw away your best winners chasing bullshit.
I got my family to watch the movie, the Hex movie, back in December. It was actually over Christmas time, and they all knew I'm into crypto, but on a more serious level last year than I ever have been. So we're all sitting here, and I said, "Hey, you guys want to watch this?" Actually, they asked me. They said, "We would like to watch that Hex movie because we have a feeling it's directly associated to what you're doing." And I said, "Yeah." And I put the movie on, and I didn't say a peep. I just let them watch it. And you can just hear the comments, right, throughout the entire movie. And I'm like, yeah, those are the normal comments that I would expect from any normal person that has no idea about crypto. And at the end of the movie, I said, "Do you guys have any comments? I'd love to hear what you think of the overall, about the people involved in Richard Hart." And every single person, even the grandparents, their comment was, "This guy's a fucking genius," based on the entire story, right? Who he was before, what he's doing, his intentions, his ability to make green candles, right? That's what he does. That's why he's so popular. He's not popular because he builds code. He's popular with people like you because you look up to him for that sort of thing. He's very smart. But for the majority of the people out there in the world, he's popular because he's able to make things go 1,000x's. And I think that's exactly the reason why people will come back. Or not necessarily come back, but that's how the attention's going to be brought to Pulse Chain. As soon as you get a 3, 4, 5, 6x, everybody's going to jump on board.
Yeah, I think that the most overlooked reality in crypto is that it's still a baby in diapers, and these things take time to flush themselves out. And in an ocean of cryptos, even Hex, I don't know exactly what is up from the 4 zeros and a 5. Let me do this real quick. Times of 500, 2 cents, 1 cent. Yeah, so we're probably like a times 150. Yeah, so 0.002, you're still up like 100x from the bottom. And it has just been pumping out yield the entire time. The difference between right now is that the T-share rates have been going massively up. People aren't staking out anymore. So right. When you have the T-share rates massively running up against Hex, even with the price down, but there's not massive amounts of stakes being put out. Well, you know what that's doing, right?
No, I don't.
That's completely diminishing the amount of actual inflation that's coming out of the token now.
Yep.
Because the only way you get inflation as Hex is if somebody stakes it.
Oh,
dude, yes.
Okay.
Wow. So
you're talking about the price being down here. Even EHEX, which he basically fudded and said, they basically making people feel like he's not even supporting it anymore because that's why he forked Pulse Chain. Even EHEX that got destroyed is still up tremendously. Now, if you compare that to just legacy finance, you know, it was 2020 when it launched, so it's like less than like 40 years old. Okay, well, where did you have the option of getting in it, you know, 4 zeros into something and writing it up to 50 cents? All the way up you could have sold, all the way down you could have sold, and it's still up way more than if you kept it in the dollar. So the mindset is skewed because people only look at a chart and they don't look at the other metrics that actually make up reality in this new cryptocurrency paradigm that we live in. You know?
Right. Well said, man. Well said. Yeah.
pTGC is like a hex, but there is no inflation. And it's constantly burning itself out of existence. And it has this massive liquidity web that's just complementary to the entire system, whether it's UFO or all the other helpful protocols or whatever it is. So that's what's very different. And that's between these two protocols, they've never existed before. There is not another protocol on any other blockchain like pTGC and its ecosystem. People don't know that. People don't, you know, it's just, all they hear is, oh, Richard, oh, it's a scam, all that. This works to our advantage because later, it's not going to be that way. As a matter of fact, to anyone who's not just brainwashed, and then I'll shut up and, you know, you guys can have your conversation, but to anyone who's not brainwashed and actually understands crypto, at this point, after watching Luna, after watching all of the FTX, freaking Sam Bankman, all these celebrity scammers, all these real scams going on, and you want to call Richard a scammer? The guy who his cryptos are still here 4 years later, Pulse Chain's doing great in terms of its tech. The price isn't doing great, but you know, when you get slammed with an SEC case, it makes it hard to do that. You know,
100%. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So all this is in this industry is opportunity. If you're a speculator, if you're in crypto, you're a speculator.
Yep.
So what are you going to do? You're going to speculate on the blue chips and get your 3x? You want to speculate on things that have everything in place. The second that Richard even gets a blip out of these judges in his positive favor, which the environment's already turning positive. It's already shifting positive in our favor.
Yeah.
Like they're getting destroyed. They're getting dismantled. You know?
Yeah.
So just imagine we get a good word on the SEC thing. Just imagine we get a good word. And ETH starts to move up. So, because for me, with our ecosystem, you know, you got to watch Bitcoin, because once Bitcoin starts going, you know, the whole thing moves up. But this is the first cycle where we got ETFs in play.
Yeah.
Right? So when we watch the sack bag double or triple in value, dude, it's gonna be a nice day.
It sure is, man. Appreciate all that information, Amando. That's awesome, man. Cheers.
Yeah, and I will say that's without taking into consideration, we have a massive community of super smart people, and everyone right now is just on exhaustion mode. We've been working very hard for very long. Everyone's kind of like a bear in hibernation, but the moment our time comes, it's going to be epic, man.
Yeah, friggin' amazing. Yeah, I'm super pumped. Just listening to information like that, you know, it's extremely bullish. But again, you know, I have decisions that I make on my own, and I'm telling you, like last August, I got introduced into the Hex Pulse Chain ecosystem, and ever since then, it's just been a different ride. Completely different than what I imagined my crypto journey to be. 2 years ago. 2 years ago, it was completely different. I was looking at blue chips. And then as soon as I found Hex and Pulse Chain and I started learning about what it is and how it works. And, it's just ever evolving. So yeah, really excited to be here, guys. It's going to be a good ride over the next 6 months.
Yeah, and just know that, if you bought at 3 zeros and a 1 or 3 zeros and a 2, and you buy down here, all you're doing is lowering your cost basis now.
100%. Yeah.
So if you put the same amount in now as you did up there, you've literally cut your cost per coin in half.
100%. I staked out Hex. When I first bought, I staked out Hex. Half of my investment was staked out, and I laddered it for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. I did a 15-year just for fun, and I kept some liquid as well. And then when we just saw 4 zeros in a 1, 4 zeros in a 4, I had to. There was no question. I had to buy more. So yeah, I dollar cost averaged over the last 10 months, and my purchase price was a lot lower than my first purchase. So I'm quite happy about that.
Nice. Yeah, so when we hit our all-time high, our all-time high, Pulse was at 3 zeros and a 2 for Pulse, for pTGC. 3 zeros and a 2. So, I mean, when this thing goes, if you study the charts, it goes very fast because what you're going to have happen is you're going to have the whole point of shaking out hands and just kind of letting that marinate is that once the chart goes, a lot of people think, oh, there's going to be another pullback. But there's that one volume and that one momentum play where, the whales on every chain control everything, right? So once it takes off, you ain't getting it back. And when you're playing around in all these shit coins and dumb coins and Latina farm coins and all this shit, when that rocket, when that SpaceX starts to take off and the reality of that sets in the heart of the investors of the community, that's when they sell all their bullshit to get into the real things because they know it's moving.
And that's what's going to pump the price up even more.
Correct. It'll pump the price even more, and all the bullshit fly-by-night meme coin things that had no real life in them, they're all going to go to zero.
This is exactly what's been going through my mind for the past 7 days. Is anything attached to Pulse Chain? This is what I'm looking at. This is my over the next 6 months. I'm trying to understand what's going to happen step by step. I'm not going to get it right, but if I'm trying to understand a few steps, I think I might be successful. So this is my take on what might happen. For example, PDI. PDI is so controversial, but I'm invested, I believe, in PDI for many different reasons. If you have a lot of PDI, if you own a lot of PDI, and you want to cash out and get money for it, I think the biggest liquidity pool is going to be your Pulse Chain PDI liquidity pool. So if you want to get out of PDI, you have to buy Pulse Chain to get out. Am I wrong on that?
I think that DAI, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that DAI's main, like the largest pairing, yes, it's with Pulse.
Right. So if people are going to sell their DAI, which they are, like when it hits 10 cents, we got the people that own 100 million DAI. They're gonna take some profits. Obviously, when it hits 20 cents, when it hits 30 cents, and what I see happening is the Pulse Chain price. When you sell into Pulse Chain, it has to pump. That's you're adding money to the Pulse Chain ecosystem, and that's what I get really, really excited about. Is everything that's paired with Pulse Chain. And in addition to that, we have the OA wallets, which I don't know much about, but I have a general understanding of what Richard Hart, his intentions are, hopefully. And when that all comes together and it happens within a 6 week or 8 week period, that's where you're going to see your 5 to 10,000 X if it happens, right?
Yeah, I'm not speaking in those type of terms. just because I won't.
Yeah.
But yeah, my point is this, guys. Fundamentally, we're at the bottom. TA-wise, we're at the bottom. Over time frames, we're at the bottom. SEC's already gotten involved, got an A team. Bitcoin's going down. No, it's not going to 35,000 without some kind of a massive, the next, COVID situation or World War III or something, and it spooks. It's the only way that happens. So yeah, the point is get your ducks in a row now. Stop screwing around. Sometimes in parts of the cycle, it's better to do nothing than to do something. It is literally better to stop shitcoining, stop looking for the next meme, and just park your shit, go on a vacation with your family, realize you did all the work. You're right at the tipping point. Because a lot of the times, man, you can lose money doing things where you wouldn't have lost any of it if you weren't doing anything, right? And then those coins that were in your bag aren't in your bag anymore. And then a month later, you have a 10X and you're sitting there like on suicide watch. Like, that's not what we want for our longstanding community members, to be losing money, chasing after pennies. We don't want that. So just know it's time to get your ducks in a row. Bitcoin is got its very normal stabilizing pullback so that we can have a normal market cycle and it's not overly front running, overly hot on price. We've got that pullback. It's perfect. It's perfect. It gives Pulse Chain a longer time frame to make its run. Okay, I can guarantee you that's how Richard is seeing how this is playing out. The reason why he made that choice to buy ETH where he did, I speculate either he did it for, like if you read 9 Iron Capital's information, he did it for specific reasons with SDI and some other things. But at the same time, we were all witnessing something that we've never seen in the cycle before, Bitcoin going to a new all-time high, front running the halving. And that is a very interesting thing, but I just think that that's indicative of market maturing, especially when you're talking about the big boys coming in, right? But you were going to get that pullback because those big boys want the prices down so that they can do OTC deals before they bring it back up. And with the ETH ETF coming, that's why they're bringing it down, in my opinion. So once that whole thing gets flushed out, it's go time. Because these big entities don't buy things for it to just go down. And that's good news for pTGC's ecosystem. All right, I'll mute out.
Yeah, thanks for showing up, Mando. That was a good conversation. Ahmet, thanks for jumping in. Unless we're gonna wrap this up here in just a minute, because I know I need to go. I have other stuff that I like. Real worlds. This is real world too, but I have real work to do today. And I am sure that TG's in. If you're still here, he has work to do. So if you got any final comments, now's your chance because we're gonna call it a day. All right. Guys, this is great. 59 people in the live. I don't know how many people, probably 16 on the Twitter space. And I know a bunch of people will catch the rerun. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everybody that participated on YouTube or on Twitter. It was a good conversation. And we are going to do this again next Saturday. So plan for that and invite a friend. With that, we'll shut it down. Thanks, guys.